Grab some popcorn and a favorite chair. The love of movies is why we're here. Press play and don't delay. Let Phil be our guide to a cinematic day. Phil at the movies, from the silver screen to his podcast stream. Phil's covering every movie dream. Phil at the movies. Phil at the movies.
And hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Phil at the Movies. I am, of course, your host, Phil Walsh, and today is show number 190 of this ongoing podcast, which is, you guessed it, For the Love of Movies. And today's a really exciting episode for me personally because we've been having a lot of guests on the show lately, but I can safe to say this is the first time I've had an actual filmmaker on the podcast, and he's already blushing by that remark, but it is the God's honest truth. I am delighted today to be welcoming to the show my buddy and as I said, filmmaker Tim Rooney, and we're going to be talking about his new fan film, which is a Batman fan film titled Batman Mask. And as a Batman fan, again, I'm gonna really try to be the impartial host here, but I know that's just gonna go out the window because we're talking about Batman, so that's already getting me excited and amped up. But this is a fucking fantastic fan film, and I mean, like,
Jeez.
put that on, like, screenshot that, put that as a poll quote if you want. Honestly, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed this film, but again, we'll start first with intros. Tim, welcome to the podcast, my friend. I think this is the first time I've had you here on the show. I know you and I collaborated for a podcast on your end back, I think, around Oscar season, if memory serves.
Yeah, I was pretty much stealing the format from Blank Check podcast where they did how one of the hosts, David on Blank Check podcast, he has an ever growing Excel sheet of like every year of the Oscars, like who would he nominate for that year, regardless if they were nominated by the Oscars and stuff like that. Like, for instance, Jaws, like Robert Shaw was not nominated for Best Supporting Actor, even though he probably should have. He probably should have won Best Supporting Actor for that movie, but wasn't by the Academy. But like, in his spreadsheet, he would have, in David's spreadsheet, he'd have one. So I kind of stole that concept and I roped you into like, all right, how we would run the Oscars just based on our personal biases of 2024. And I'm sure we're going to repeat that for 2025.
Absolutely.
And yeah. And you saying like, oh, like as a Batman fan, as you say that, I'm looking at your background right now. I'm like, all right, there's a Heath Ledger statuette. There is a Dark Knight, a wide poster and a Joker poster up there. So I'm like, no, obviously he's clearly not a Batman fan.
No,
whatsoever.
I'm a Superman guy through and through. I mean, can't
Yes.
you tell? This is all covered behind me.
I mean, like you were like, I think you were tepid to say the least of the recent Superman movie. I think that was the way I would say your enjoyment of that
That's
compared
fair.
to.
That's fair.
So yeah, no, like so when you say as a Batman fan that you really enjoyed it, I'm just like, whew,
Yeah.
oh, thank goodness.
You passed the Phil test, so that's it's all smooth sailing from there. Tim, honest to God. But well, first off, everybody, let me give you a quick synopsis of the film, and I have included it in the show notes, so I would encourage you to go and check it out because, like I said, as a Batman fan, I was hooked. But even just as if I was just looking at this as someone who appreciates filmmaking and those who really have an eye and a passion for it, I'd be even more invested because this is not you'll forgive the expression, a home movie fan film. Again, no disrespect to anyone that, again, it takes a lot of effort to go out and take a camera and film stuff. I've done it myself, but this is of a quality that you don't always see with fan films. So just from the start of that, I want to just salute you on that end.
I can only put so many zeros on the check.
I
Okay,
know.
so
I know. I can stop. I guess we can stop now. Yes. Now I'll be critical. No.
it
um,
was half out of focus and bad framing.
right. All right. So everybody, here is a quick rundown of the plot. A mugger thinks he got away with a quick robbery, but he's been followed by the Caped Crusader. And what I love about this film is you start us right in the action.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of exposition. There's not a lot of build up. We're right there in the thick of it. It's Halloween time. Another, again, you're really checking the boxes here, Jim. But it's Halloween. It's Gotham, and you just take us right into it. We're right there in the midst of Halloween, and right from the start, there's a sense of mischief and possible mayhem. And I like how that's implied through almost, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but sort of like an homage or a callback to even some slasher films where we have someone walking down the sidewalk in a Halloween costume, and there's sort of like that that famous over the shoulder look. Was that a design choice? Did it just sort of happen? What was going through your mind when you were doing that?
Yeah, it was my intention of it, but like that day was as you said before, like recording anything on camera and presenting it and it being accomplishing its goals is tough enough. It's tough. It's even double so when your equipment decides to fail on you on the day.
Wow.
Yeah, so that day, the opening that we shot there on like the waterfront, where we could see the Manhattan Bridge and everything like that, and the Brooklyn Bridge in the background. Um, so the camera I had like is that part I shot on the Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro, and anybody who has shot with Blackmagic cameras is that as great as quality are, as how textured the film and quality is of the cameras, battery life is notoriously awful. So you usually have like an external battery on the outside, and you have run a cable to it. I get the actors there, I plug it in, and I turn the camera on, and it zaps the battery. And I'm like, huh, that's weird. I take one battery off, I put the second one, my only other one, on, turn it on, same thing. What I later found out is that there was a faulty, the cable itself was faulty. It was shorting out and short out the power in the battery. So
Mhm.
like I've dragged these actors here, and I'm just like, okay, what do I do? Thankfully, there was a battery that I left inside the camera that was about half power. So the idea was like, okay, I'm gonna walk through the blocking of it. I'm gonna combine a few shots into one because I'm gonna turn the camera on, hit record, and if I think it's good, I'm gonna stop recording, turn it off, and just move on. I am not even gonna watch it back because I can't risk watching the playback killing the battery. So it was like, all right, if I think it's good enough, good, we're moving on, and hope to God everything is okay.
Wow.
It really like harkened back to like shooting stuff on film in college where like I'm hoping I have 3 minutes of film here. I got to make each second count and
Wow.
hope to God everything is right there. And so like that shot of like Cassie, who plays the woman with the angel wings, like walks into like medium shot, we pan with her as she walks further into the background away from the camera.
Mhm.
And Pete, who's actually Batman, is standing in for the mugger at that point. He steps in the frame and doing the over the shoulder shot. And I'm like, okay, no, I want this to be like he is stalking her and try to harken back to slash movies or horror movies right there.
Right.
That it's a classic stalking scene.
Hmm. I mean, talk about a trial by fire just on your first day.
Yeah,
Uh, Major props just for shooting it I mean, on location, if I could use that. I mean,
yeah.
that adds such a realism to it. Like, it's not like you just went in like some small town downtown and just or like in a backyard or something and tried to make it all work. Like, you actually painstakingly went to You said was in front of the Brooklyn Bridge, right?
It was near it. Yeah, we were in like I'd say like east like Williamsburg right there. Like we shot in Brooklyn, and all of it. But yeah, no, like it was like the first time me really doing that because I'm from Long Island. I'm used to the suburbs and everything. But going to New York and shooting them, like, oh no, this is a completely different experience. And the lovely thing is like you turn 90 degrees, the locale looks completely different. So it's like, all right, no, I can get away with many different locations in one walking
Setting.
area.
Wow. So what may logistically did you have it already mapped out? Like, okay, we're going to go to this location and shoot here, or was it sort of one of those things where you just were sort of like driving by, like, okay, this looks like a good shot, or did you have this already in your mind as a setup?
I was like, I had done a lot of Google Maps searching of areas I wanted to do, and then like, um, I scouted like the waterfront area first. We shot that actually of October of last year, and
Ah,
it took us a long time to come back around to finish the rest of it, because we shot most of it, the rest of it in July, just because of life getting in the way. Um, but yeah, so like we did that, and then there's a website called Peerspace where you can rent places, like people put up like apartments or businesses if you want to rent for X amount of people and for X amount of time. And the main location where the rest of the movie pretty much takes place, is a rented place, also in Brooklyn. And it was going to be a different area initially,
mhm,
and but like I was like, like, it would have been cheaper, but it wouldn't have been as evocative.
mhm.
And then I came across this place that I was planning on use for like if I was going to make another Batman film later on. But like I'd reached out to the owner, like, hey, can I come down and just like check it out? And he said, sure, come on down. And in Brooklyn Optics, and I went down there and it was like, oh no, this place has a feeling and a tone. And I'm like, there's no way I can recreate it like approximate that on like a near zero budget without like just renting this place and just using this as his own ambiance. And I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be more expensive, but it's gonna be worth it to do it there. And then the rest was like, all right, like the running scenes was like I kind of mapped out on Google Maps, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do here, here, and here, and then literally just like walked that area, shot like the a few takes, moved on, and then just kept on until we got all the pieces needed.
How long did this take you to film? You because you said already you filmed the opening last October.
Yes, it was October 11th because I remember because it was the day before my birthday, and I always like to try and film around my birthday or do something because I'm like, all right, um, it just like it's like the greatest gift I can give to myself. Like, oh no, I'm being creative in or around my birthday,
Hmm.
and then for I think it was then 3 more days in July and early August that of this year that we like I shot like the running stuff, like the montage, in early July, the main chunk of it at Brooklyn Optics another night, and then we did like one more day actually in New Jersey for pickups, and then like kind of like the teaser at the end, in early August.
Wow. Okay, so this was
Yeah.
not something you just knock off in a weekend or a month or two.
No, 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 no. But it's much like podcasting, or just anything in life. It is scheduling that is
Yeah.
the bane of any creative existence. So I'm like, okay, we got this, cut it together, and it's the luxury that I'm like, all right, I like, because I wanted it for last Halloween. It didn't end up working out that way, but knowing that I had an end target, I'm like, okay, I can take my time. I can figure out what exactly I needed in order to get it to the place I wanted to be.
Hmm.
And so with that, I'm like, okay, all right, I'm like just piece by piece by piece, and I would edit along the way. I didn't like gather all the footage and then put it into my editing program. It was more like as soon as I shot something, drop it into the timeline and see what I needed, what was missing, and what can I improve if I
Hmm.
have to go back and reshoot something.
How many days of reshoots did you do for it?
Um, Reshoots. It literally was just that one day of like
Okay.
It was because the day on the waterfront, we got all but one shot, and thankfully it was going to be an insert shot of him taking out the revolver. And I'm like, all right, I shoot that tight enough, I can shoot that anywhere, I can do that another day, everything's fine. So technically only one day of reshoots was needed. So but like I've had to reshoot stuff on like a 15-second short before, so whenever
Oh,
I hear news of like people saying like, which I know that could just uh it just says a lot about me that I couldn't get that right. Or that's why like when people say like, oh, something's going back into reshoots or pickups, like I don't freak out about that now. I'm like, no, I totally get like they thought they had it, didn't realize, they're like, all right, no, we need X, Y, and Z. They go back and redo it. So I don't freak out when headlines
right.
of like the Batman's doing reshoots or something like that. I'm like, no, that's just
It's
how movies are made.
it's normal. It's a normal
Yeah.
part of the process. So speaking of the process, why this film? What was the genesis of the idea? I presume you are a bit of a Batman fan.
Yes, just a little bit. I am looking at because I on my desk right here because I'm a damn nerd. I got a Batman
Oh,
animated series, Batman and Robin, on
nice,
my desk.
nice.
But it's so funny. Like they're one size, and but then you compare it to which I just my girlfriend got me for my birthday this year, was like, all right, you got Robin this size, and then you got the shape, and just the disproportionate size difference right there. Um, and then like the joke I made, I'm like, oh no, like the Batman and Robin figures look like Michael Keaton and Burt Ward's respective sizes, and George P. Wilbur and Bruce Campbell are their respective sizes, their figures. And so like I just been a like, to paraphrase Goodfellas, as long as I can remember, I've always been a Batman fan. Yeah, ever since I was a child, like I've been a fan of the Cape Crusader, and I was lucky enough. I consider lucky enough that when I was introduced to Batman, I was introduced to the Keaton and Schumacher movies, the animated series, and the 66 TV series and reruns all around the same time. So I just kind of say like, oh, they're a little different here and there, but they're all Batman. So I think it's kind of allowed me to have a more of a broader appreciation for the character, because I know some people have like, no, he has to be a dark lone Avenger. I don't like him with a weapon. I don't like him part of the Justice League, so on and
Mhm.
so forth. And or you say like, no, like I want him with a gigantic bad family. I don't like it when he's by himself. And those feelings are valid. Like it's they can be limiting in their own ways, but
Mhm.
so I thought like, all right, like seeing Batman fan films online, which a lot of them done with huge budgets and
Mhm.
are really impressive, like uh, the Batman versus Alien
Oh yeah,
fan film,
yeah.
which is just amazing. City of Scars, that's a couple of years, that's like, man, it's probably close to 15, 16 years ago now. Um, and then there was one where it's not even a Batman film, it's a Gordon and Joker fan film where Gordon has arrested Joker after Batman has left him arrested, and they put him in the back of the van and they're driving him off, presumably to Arkham Asylum. And then Gordon and Joker have this philosophical conversation, only
Oh
for
yeah,
only for Joker to realize he's not going to Arkham Asylum. He's going to a shallow grave out behind in the countryside outside of Gotham City. And I'm like, okay, that's really creative and interesting. So I'm like, all right, can I do something on such a micro budget of it? And somebody who, because as well as seeing like so many people who are cosplaying and they have such amazing outfits, um and it's like, okay, no, I think you can kind of get away with like, no, like you can have like they can wear their cosplaying outfits on screen and no, just like, no, and you light it properly, no,
yeah.
that just looks like a good bat suit. That it doesn't look like it doesn't look like he's wearing like a mask with a little string on that's on his face that you fear of it snapping at any time. And they're like, okay, I think I can get this done and kind of see like what can I do with a limited budget and be creative with it, as well as try to do something without dialogue so it can travel. And so, like, regardless of country, you can hopefully you can understand the story by the visuals.
That was something that I really appreciated because you even think there are a number of even Batman comics where there's no dialogue or there might just be like a single thought bubble, uh, kind of, from maybe point A to point C, but it's really just the visual images. And I thought you really captured that well, where it's not just, all right, you're waiting for a character to do an exposition dump or say a quirky line. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a silent film where it just sort of guides you by the movements and the emotions of the characters without actually saying anything.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where I love Alfred Hitchcock movies and the fact that he came from the silent era before he went to sound. And
Hmm.
so like he started to develop what his visual motifs that would go on to dominate his career. And so many of sure there are various lines in his movies that have stood the test of time, but when you think of Alfred Hitchcock, you think of the biplane sequence in North by Northwest, the shower scene in Psycho, or even in Vertigo, and it's was it not Vera Miles? Wow, I'm blanking on her name. Coming out in the suit where she's like Jimmy Stewart has like recreated the look of his lost
Oh,
love,
yeah.
and it's all visual moments that stick out to you, or like when Grace Kelly is like showing that she's got the wedding ring on her, and then of the murdered victim in the rear window, and it pans over to the perpetrator, realizes he's being watched by Jimmy Stewart. It's stuff like that. Like, oh, those are things that have stood the test of time, and all of them done without dialogue. I'm like, okay, if you do it right, it can transcend uh cultures not relying on dialogue.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of that kind of a challenge because it's easy to say a line or to, again, do an exposition dump. It's a better challenge to try to say, okay, how can we make this effective without having two characters talking? And,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that really came across well, particularly the scene where Batman finally is revealed and you really get a feeling of the tension. And again, it's not like you've got someone saying, "Oh my God, it's Batman" or something. It's just, but you could always imagine that's what the character would be saying even without saying it.
Right. Yeah, totally. Like it's just like, okay, no, like that's why like there are moments where I'm editing it and like, yeah, I'm not, I don't have dialogue to um rely on to like kind of get my point across, and I'm like, I know what the story is, but and I know what I'm trying to say, but like, am I saying it properly? Am I getting the point across? I'd bounce like edits off my girlfriend Jess and asking like, all right, do you get what I'm saying here? Do you get what I'm trying to show at the thought process of the mugger and why he does the things he does and kind of seals his fate at one point.
I like how you make the mugger character not just a straight, kind of a black and white uh, bad guy, if you will. There's I don't want to say an element of humanity, but there's some sort of complexity going on where this is
Mm,
not just some quote hired gun. There's like you almost want to know, okay, what went on in this guy's life prior to this night? What went on 6 months, a year, 5, 10 years in the past? Like it's that kind of uh, a setup where it's not just another random goon that Batman's gonna pummel and drop off at police headquarters.
yeah.
There's something more beneath the surface, and I always, I mean, again, this is where I really am leaning on my Batman bias, but I love when there were stories where there's more than just a straightforward good guy versus bad guy motif, and I thought you really tapped into more of that gray area, which I think all the best Batman stories sort of walk that line anyway and thread that particular needle. So I salute you on that. But I mean, I wonder if was that a a choice or I should say, was that always your intention? Uh, or did you just sort of, did some of these things just happen kind of by mistake or by surprise?
Well, that's the thing. Like so many things do happen by mistake and surprise, and I think a lot of that comes down to Mark, who plays the mugger in this, where I think he's just so expressive that
Hmm.
that it couldn't help but come across that way. Um, and yeah, that the idea of you've somehow managed to get the drop on Batman, and you could get away scot free, but he decides to no, I'm gonna hedge my bets, and I'm gonna try to unmask him, and obviously it does not go his way, but that's why I'm just saying I wonder how many people are going to be like no, like just shaking their head like no, 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 don't do that, don't do that. It's kind of like how people in horror movies where characters have to kind of make dumb decisions from time to time
Right.
because it engages the but it's got to be a very thin needle to thread because otherwise there's times where no, don't drop the knife,
Right.
don't do that, where you could lose people absolutely. Like as I love Carpenter's Halloween, it's one of my favorite movies of all time, but I get why people say near the end where Laurie keeps dropping the knife,
Right.
and at one point when she stabs him while she's in the closet and drops it again, I can see why some people would be like, no, I don't care, she has it coming or something like that.
Right. No, as an aside, I saw an interview with Jamie Lee Curtis a few years ago where she recounted that, and she's like, back when we were filming it, I even said to John Carpenter at the time, like, why do I keep dropping the knife? Like, the guy keeps coming back. I should hold on to the knife. He's like, you have to drop the knife, Jamie, because the story has to happen.
Yeah,
I mean, perfect explanation right there from John Carpenter of all people.
right. And I love how in Cabin in the Woods they make a there's a reason why characters drop the
Yeah.
knife,
Yep.
and I'm like that's a clever way of explaining why that happens.
That's a fun twist.
Yeah.
Um, wh when you set out to make a Batman film, obviously a lot of preconceived notions, a lot of expectations, whether it be on the audience or even you as a filmmaker. How do you separate your sort of what you might want to see versus what you think is more important for the story and ultimately the audience? Like, how do you separate the two, or do you separate the two?
Well, I think it's you have to realize know what your limitations are and play within them.
Hmm.
Like there's so many fan films where it's that require a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo because they want to tell a sprawling hour long or 2 hour long epic
Hmm.
that requires thousands of dollars to do, and but their ideas exceed their budget even if they do have a decent sized budget, and you're just all right, that's kind of a pitfall. Or sometimes they oh they want to have these big characters from the comics in there, and but they can't afford the best of actors, or not say the best but or not say the best of actors, more so the filmmakers are not capable enough of getting those actors to the right place to deliver those stories,
Hmm.
where oh no, we want to do a classic Batman Joker story, but the storytellers are I don't know how to direct the actors to get them to the place where it's reaching the levels that you want of
Right.
the likes of Mark Hamill or Heath Ledger or something like that. It just seems like that is your friend from high school
Right.
in Joker makeup.
Yeah. Right. Um, in terms of actors for your film, were these people you knew from school? Were these people in local theater companies, or how did you go about finding your cast and building this cast?
Um, for Cassie, who plays the victim at the start of it, I had worked with her before on a short film and part of my feature film for Where's Smiling Sarah, and she was recommended to me to or like she was like found because of notice was put into an acting class here on Long Island a couple of years ago, and she recommended me Mark, who was like from her hometown, and he had just moved to the city, so she put me in contact with him, and it was funny he he's done his own fan films. Like he's got another by the time this obviously is out, he's got two other fan films out around the same time, one a Scream one and one a Halloween one. So he's like I joked, I'm like, so October is just the fan film month for you, and he's like, it turned out that way. It did not start out like that. And he and I bonded because huge Halloween and Scream fans, and so we were waiting to shoot his stuff, like the running montage, and we were just waiting down by the water in Brooklyn, waiting for the sun to set, and we're just like, all right, which is your favorite Scream sequel and why? Which is your least favorite? What? And so on and so forth. And we just bonded over that. And Pete, who plays Batman in this, he was recommended to me by another cosplayer who I originally reached out to. He's just like, I'm not really interested in doing that, but you might want to talk to my friend Pete. And he gave me his contact info. And much like Mark, also huge Halloween and Scream fan. So just geeked out over the slasher movie genre, which it was I was worried that when we were shooting like all the stuff in at Brooklyn Optics that we get caught up in between setups talking about that, but thankfully we had our discussions before we started shooting, and then we only had like 3 hours in that location, and it was like 30 plus setups that we had to get through, so we had to like fly through this all these these few pages, and it was a marathon, especially in the middle of July, and there's no AC in that building, and we had to turn off all the fans for sound.
Oh, sure.
So it was sweaty just for Mark and I, and then Pete's in the Batman costume the entire time, and so I'm adjusting lights in between setups, and both Mark and I would just periodically turn to like Pete, like, "You okay?" Just give us a thumbs up, like, "All right, good, 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 good."
Wow. So again, continuous trial by fire when it came to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to say the bat suit was quite impressive. And again, you mentioned it was a cosplay's costume, but again with lighting and in the way you stage it. But because sometimes you'll see fan films and even the best of intentions, you can kind of tell like, oh, that looks like an exaggerated Halloween costume or something. And
Right.
this had a texture to it where it just sort of like, okay, I can buy that's Batman. Like I guess because I was sort of invested already in the world, that all of the other stuff is just almost kind of like gravy on top of it. And I think that kind of goes back to the way you start this film with the bat signal silhouette in the city skyscraper. I think that kind of sets the tone in a way, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, no, people who listen to the show know that I happen to be just a somewhat small, big fan of Christopher Nolan. I know it's
I
mind
don't think you've
blowing.
mentioned it
No,
before.
I've
I
never
only
meant.
count three of his posters behind you right
I know,
now.
right? I know. Again, all cover, right there. Um, when you were making this, were there sort of intentional cues where you wanted to evoke either a Nolan film or Tim Burton? Because there's certainly a lot of beautiful homages that I see throughout it, and you kind of can't help it today because of their influence on Batman. But were there moments where you're like, okay, I want to, pay nod to The Dark Knight or Batman '89? Were those discussions that you had sort of in the pre-production stage, or do they just sort of arise organically when you were getting ready to, shoot, when you were even on location?
I think like it was not like intentional that I wanted to homage certain other filmmakers of it. Like the only one that is really intentional is like the blimp I have in one shot in the background,
Mm,
which is my homage to the animated
right.
series. like even to the point like where like initially it just said police on the side. I'm like, nah, that like it works in the animated series. It looks a little looks a little silly in live action. So I'm like, all right, no, make it GCPD. And I was having a hard time like getting the right fonts and the right opacity of it for the model I had. And thankfully, my girlfriend again, like she helped me out with that. So a huge kudos to her for that. Um, but as far as like intentional, I want to be like much like Tim Burton or Christopher Nolan. It was not intentional. Like the only thing that I had intention, like it was supposed to be the costume that he has for those who've seen it, like Pete's wearing like a Dark Knight Returns, like Ben
Yeah.
Affleck BVS suit,
Yeah.
which was not the initial suit that was supposed to be used.
Oh.
He had one where it's kind of based off the comic book Hush,
Oh,
but
okay.
that zipper like had busted and require like a couple days of repair in order to get that right before he was about to shoot. He's like, it's like, all right, I got Robert Pattinson, the Batman one, or the Dark Knight Returns Ben Affleck one. And I was like, well, Dark Knight Returns is iconic in its own right. Like, yes, it's in BVS, but like that's been around for 40 years at this point, and
Right.
it's become part of the lexicon. Like, that's more like if I did the Robert Pattinson one, I think it's too
Too
because
soon.
that yeah, it's too soon and it's too unique to his
Yeah.
iteration of Batman. I'm like, okay, we'll go with the Dark Knight Returns one, and I guess like the only other thing, like the fact that like a lot of it's shot handheld and gritty on the street, which is a lot of like how the Dark Knight was
Yeah.
shot, and or Batman Begins has a far more warmer color hue to it, especially like in Gotham City when he returns to it. Um, if that's it was not intentional, but more of like, oh no, it's Halloween, it's supposed to be autumnal,
Right.
so like
Right.
let me push like the warmer colors and the color grade for it.
I really like the job you did at establishing the world because again, that's another thing that I think this is not just with Batman fan films, but sometimes you have fan films in general where you may have a great concept and a great shoot and setup, but people sort of either neglect or overlook the details. And I thought you did a good job at establishing the world of Gotham City. We see the poster for Harvey Dent. There's the image of the Max Shrek Halloween party, which I thought was a nice little nod. Like there's a lot of cues that suggest to the audience, like, okay, yeah, we're in Gotham City. We're not just running around the streets of New York trying to make a fan film. And I think that really adds to the credibility of this. And again, knowing that you were working on such a tight budget, I think it's makes it even more impressive.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, like you mentioned for like the Max Shreks, because I just find that logo for Max Shreks like very evocative,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to have like a hodgepodge of influences in there.
Hmm.
Um, but like, there's another Batman fan film called The Oath from, yeah, I believe it's how you pronounce it, uh, Katakoa Studios, and that's specifically like a prequel to Batman '89, and it's about a cop who's on the take and but like has it like Batman kind of says like, you know, you can do better than this, and like decides to like wants to help Gordon, Batman, and everything. And like they had really good production design, and so like they had like so many posters of like the 200th anniversary of
Hmm.
Gotham City, and I'm like, okay, I'd want to do something like that, but this is such a Batman '89 specific one. I'm like, okay, I could do something with Batman Returns, and I thought of the logo, and I initially had like brought the logo into Canva, and I'm like, all right, what would I want to do with this? What if Max Shrek had a Halloween party, and then I messed with the colors, I inverted it from black, like predominantly white and black to black and white, and created a logo from and like did the text from there, just as something to have in the background, and the idea of like a Harvey Dent's, like I think of like for those who played the Batman Arkham games and like all the Easter eggs and like the Riddler's trophies and stuff, like they had like there's like a hint of like, oh, a hint of like of PN Gwyn's business or something like that, and you got to go find the iceberg lens and take a photo of it to get that to get that award. I just love that idea, and so that's why I have the rip down the center Harvey Dent for district attorney poster up.
Yeah, again, I'm a sucker for those kind of little Easter eggs. So that was sort of fun to see them pop up in unexpected places. So again, that just sort of adds, for me to the credibility of the entire piece. Uh, Talk about the ending, and we won't go into spoilers per se, but there's a wonderful tease at the end of this film, and I would like to know sort of the origin of that and where that might be going for you next. Is this the have you said what you have to say on Batman, I guess would be the follow-up.
No, because like two like of any Batman fans worth their salt, I should say. They love Batman in certain weather conditions or certain times of year. So Batman during Halloween just seems like, oh, that just makes total sense. And the fact it's only like Batman Forever and the Batman, the only ones who've really leaned into that in live action. But the other time of year you love seeing Batman is it's during the holidays, it's during snow, or and it's near the end of the year, and it's like, oh, and that's like you got Batman Noel, Holiday Nights, Batman Returns, and I'm like, I want to do something like that. And so the idea of like setting up a story of Batman dealing with a case that's going on during the holidays just seems like no, that seems like a fun idea to play with. And then also just like it gave me a reason to go grab a camera and go into New York City and just like get a bunch of B-roll footage of people visiting the city, which I know is going to be a nightmare. I know I'm asking like I'm getting on public transportation in New York City, or like God forbid if I decide to go down to Fifth Avenue and go visit the tree in Rockefeller Center and want to get footage from that. Um, but but like no, I made that mistake once because it was the first Rebel Moon movie that Zack Snyder made. It was a 70 millimeter screening at the Paris Theater, which is now co-owned by Netflix. And I'm like, all right, like the quickest way is like, all right, get out of Penn Station, go up Fifth Avenue, forgetting the fact it's a couple days before, it's like a week before Christmas, and
Oh
it's
boy.
it's a tourist trap, and I'm just like doing the penguin zombie walk up Fifth Avenue. And I'm like, nope, I should. I got to go west for one avenue. Then I'll cut up because like this is obnoxious. I'm not doing this. But anyway, um, yeah, I like. Will that come together? We'll see.
Sure.
Because the team and I, who have made this one, are already talking about like doing another Batman fan film, but it's also said Halloween, but it might be a little bit of a crossover event with something else or a crossover with another character. We'll see.
Oh, very exciting. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, definitely keep us up to date with that. Um, Going in a different direction and actually winding the clock back. Tell me about how this journey began for you. How did you get the itch, if you will, for filmmaking? Was this just something you discovered early on? Was it by accident? Take me on that journey.
It reminds me like if I was gonna be a stand up like or be like I want to tell a joke like all right take me back to the beginning like all right there's the Big Bang all right speed it up from there okay like my mom was very liberal in what she allowed me to watch and showed me things I was far too young to see because I remember I must have been like 6 or 7 years old when I saw the very first Terminator on VHS. Because I think I was just in a mom and pop video store. I saw the cover with Arnold with the big 45 and the laser sighting. And I'm just like, that looks cool. I want to see what that's about. She rented that for me. And I remember seeing that and thinking, like, whatever this feeling I'm experiencing right now, that's what I want to do to audience members. I want to make him feel like I'm gonna jump or feel fright or excitement, and uh, it just kind of I feel that kind of get that kind of satisfaction of people enjoying a story that I told visually. I'm like, no, that's the greatest thing one can ask for, in at least in my eyes. So like that's why I've been chasing that dragon for close to 30 years now.
Wow.
I've never said that out like that before, and I understand why there's gray in my beard now. A little bit,
Hey, don't sell yourself short yet.
no.
No, you, you
My girlfriend says like, "Oh, you got a little salt in your paprika right there." Me being a ginger, and I'm just like, yuck, 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 yuck.
there we go. You gotta love that. She keeps you honest, right?
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, you see this patch of white hair? I call this Jess. And,
Right.
and she like elbows me in the ribs for it. I'm like, I deserve that.
Um, who were filmmakers that you looked up to and still do? People that you certainly are inspired by and even try to emulate in your work.
I mean, it's cliche, but Steven Spielberg is still my favorite filmmaker. I mean, like just out of frame, there's a corner, and there's two posters, and there is both frames of Jaws and Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade. Um, he's still the filmmaker that I try to emulate the most. He's the one I studied the most and trying to figure out how he does it. Like watching his movies with sound off, trying to figure out why does this sequence work.
Mhm.
Besides that, obviously James Cameron, John Carpenter, and Alfred Hitchcock. Um, and one that I like is someone that kind of stuck up on me the past couple of years, but John McTiernan,
Hmm.
director of Predator,
Yeah.
Die Hard, The Hunt for Red October, and just like, oh no, just like how he structures his action sequences and how he tries to do things as visual as possible, and how his unique way of approaching action of like, no, we're going to do this in a longer take than usual, and so you know the geography of where everybody's players are. And then like James Wan, because I love the thrills of like his horror movies and his action movies. Of, I mean, just recently, like I showed one of my short films at a horror movie showcase, and it had a big jump scare at the end, and making the whole room full of people jump and then laugh themselves because they got scared of something is the like no drugs will ever compare to like the satisfaction I felt right there. And I'm like, oh yes, I did it. I got that. And it's like I can only imagine as a musician who like created like a very catchy song that people are singing for years to come. Like I did good there.
Now, there's the old story, and I'm sure you've heard it being a Spielberg aficionado, but the scene, of course, in Jaws with the head when it pops out of the boat, and the painstaking efforts that Spielberg went to go back and get that shot, despite the studio saying, no, leave it alone, the movie's perfect the way it is, and yet he knew there was that one more scare, and just hearing his reaction now, even 50 years later, he still is like a kid in a candy store, just over the way audiences still to this day react over that one shot.
I mean, like what I mentioned earlier, like when I saw I think it was probably off mic. I don't know, I can't remember now, but like during the re-release in
Oh,
August, where
yeah.
the Jaws re-release, and like some people jumped, and I'm like, yes, it still works. But I also love the part two of that story is that when the shark pops out of the water when Brody's chumming, he's like, people were on guard, so like
Yeah.
that jump didn't work just as much as the Ben Gardner's head.
Yeah.
So he's like, I sacrificed the effectiveness of that jump scare with this one. However, it still works because Roy Scheider delivers one of the most iconic lines in movie history. Is like, "You're gonna need a bigger boat." Like, so I think he could sleep well knowing that moment still lands.
No, I mean his reaction to seeing the movie now 50 years later, sort of viewing it outside of being a director and trying to watch it as an audience member, he's like, yeah, pretty good film. Pretty good. You did good, Steve. You did good.
Exactly. I mean, there's still one jump scare that I'm never sure of the timing of. It's when Hooper's in the cage.
Oh,
He's
when the
got
shark show,
and the
yeah.
shark pops from behind. Like I can never remember when the shark comes, and I always jump when it first smashes into the cage and he drops
The
the
spear.
spear. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we could go on about Jaws. That's that's sure. Um, what other films do you have in the pipeline? And sort of looking back thus far, what would you say you are most proud of with what you have with what you've created?
um, I think this one is particularly I'm proud of because there's a filmmaker by the name of Michael Balliff who runs Witching Season Films on YouTube
Hmm.
and Instagram. Like he and I have become friends over close to 10 years now. And whenever we're working on something or like, hey, we're testing something out, either one of us, like, we're one of the first people who send, like, hey, this is unlisted right now. Check this out. And like he said the kindest things about this, like, this is the most professional and well made things you've ever done. And I'm like, well, that's coming a lot. That means a lot coming from you as well as Christopher Schrader of 27 Letter Productions, like the podcasting and short films from him and web series. And he said, like, oh no, it's terrific, dude. And I'm like, whew. And the most recent horror short film, The Laundry Room, that I did earlier this year, and getting the reaction I wanted from people, like those, I'm like, okay, it's just knowing, like, every now and then I'll go back and watch some of my oldest short films. I'm like, I could have done X, Y, and Z better.
Hmm.
How would I do that differently today? And it's one of those things where you just need to continue to learn. Don't rest on your laurels. Continue to push yourself, and hopefully you get better for it. And I'm hoping that I can only get better from here and make
Right.
more stuff that people enjoy. So yeah, this is my proudest stuff so far. Hopefully, I'll continue to make even better stuff later down the line.
Well, that's fantastic. How many projects have you done to date?
Oh, like since I started really making stuff in earnest in like 2012 when I went away to college, like yeah, even though I said like I wanted to be a filmmaker since I was 6 years old, but like it's one of those things where like I wasn't that kid who borrowed my dad's Super 8 camera and made stop motion films with action figures. Like I was a terrible self starter, and like it's still something I kind of struggle with. That like just like getting the first steps into motion, and so I always feel like I'm like a few steps behind most people my age and everything, and capable of what their capabilities are. So I think since like 2012 to like now, I think I've close to 100 short films
Wow.
in like or short films or videos for classes and everything. Like a TV show I did in college. Um, but yeah, uh, are any of them like really watchable? Yeah, but like it's the same thing. Like, do you go back and listen to the very first podcast you put out there? No, because you're
Hell
like, nope,
no.
no, 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 no.
No.
Those stuff. I'll gladly accept the download numbers, but like, no, do not have that quality reflect on the person I am today.
Right. That's right. Everything is a learning curve.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, Tim, this is, and I know I've been heaping the praise on, and again, folks, I'm not getting paid for this. We'll clarify that. I thoroughly enjoyed this film. Again, not only as a Batman fan, but as someone who appreciates filmmaking and those who love the art of it. This really is well done. And you should be proud of this because this is a damn good film.
Thank you, dude. I really do appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. And the fact that you took your time out of your night to ask these questions of me, like the first one to really do an interview about my process and everything like that. Like that's never happened before. So glad it was you the first one to do it, and hopefully more stuff we can continue to have these conversations going forward.
Oh, absolutely. Folks, the film is Batman Mask. I've included the link to it in the show notes. And whether you are a Batman fan or just appreciate fan films in general, this is one to check out, as well as to check out the works of Tim Rooney, because, folks, you heard it here. He is somebody to keep an eye on. And again, I take great pleasure in saying that. And Tim, keep doing what you're doing, because it is really paying off. So I leave you with that note of encouragement. But before I do let you sign off, let me turn the mic over to you. Where can people find out more about you, your films? Where can they stalk you on social media in the best possible way?
If you want to follow me on social media, both Blue Sky and Threads, at this is Tim Rooney, Rooney Rooney. Same thing as on my Instagram as well. That's the Instagram is where I'm most active. Um, Obviously, if you follow the link of the Batman masks, and that's in the description right here, you'll be brought to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/through the lens productions. Like, share, and subscribe, and make sure the notification bells are on. So whenever I do upload something, you will be the first person to see it. And yeah, there's more stuff in the pipeline, both short and long form. And hopefully things are just getting started, and hopefully things will continue to be successful with the audiences.
Onward and upward, as they say, Tim. Onward and upward. Buddy, we'll be certain to have you back on the show to talk about your next film or just movies in general. But thank you again for coming on today and talking about this film, because it really was an absolute pleasure. And I say that from the bottom of my heart. So thank you for that. But on that note, everybody, thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I'll be back next week, where we'll do this all over again for the love of movies.
Phil at the movies makes every movie a dream.